I don't have a background in this. Didn't go to seminary, but sometimes you don't need that. So I'm going to be relying heavily on the Word today. We're going to be reading it quite a bit and repeating it quite a bit. And if I lose my place, please just show me a little grace. And if I get completely flustered, I might just say, "Go Astros," and then maybe I'll jog my memory and get back on track here. So today, the reading is from Proverbs, and as you know, if you've been here the last couple of weeks, Jonathan's been talking about Proverbs and going through different sections, and today's section is Proverbs chapter 3, and it starts in verse 21, and it starts with what Jonathan's referred to as kind of a general appeal to wisdom and a general appeal of wisdom. You have kind of a section 1 here that goes through verses 21 through 26, and you have a second section that goes through 27 through 35. So that first section is the general appeal to wisdom. And I'm just going to go ahead and read that, starting in verse 21. "My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck. Then you will go on your way in safety, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Have no fear of sudden disaster or the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be at your side, and he will keep your foot from being snared." So Proverbs, mainly is called a book of wisdom. So it's helpful to understand what does that mean? What is wisdom? Is it a book of advice? Is it a book of knowledge? What is wisdom? When we think of wisdom, a lot of times we'll think of kind of book knowledge, maybe what you learned in high school or your professors from college, things learning mechanical engineering or forestry or other things like that. You think of that as wisdom and knowledge being the same thing, but it also at the same time is a little bit of an abstraction. What is wisdom? It says, "Do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck." So there, he's kind of trying to bring it into a little bit more of a tangible thing, what exactly wisdom is. So wisdom's beyond smarts. It's beyond book knowledge. It's something more than that. So doing a little word search on wisdom, there's at least 6 different times in Scripture in various forms. I'm sure there's probably other places as well where it states that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So that's what wisdom is. Starting off, it's the fear of the Lord. Well, that's helpful if you can understand what the fear of the Lord is. And if you don't know what that means, that it's like, okay, there's more abstraction there. What is the fear of the Lord? What does that mean? Am I supposed to be afraid of God? Well, let's break that down a little bit. Some might say, well, the fear of the Lord is respecting God. It's treating him with dignity. Well, it's that, but it's a little bit more than just respect. I respect my boss. I don't fear my boss. On the other hand, is it fear? Is it being afraid? Well, not really that either. I'm not afraid of God, although when people have had encounters with God in the Bible or his angels, there's an element of fear there. There's something there that is more than just respect, not quite fear, although somewhat there. And when I met with PJ, and we talked about this a little bit, he said that the fear of the Lord is honor, it's reverence, and it's obedience. So it's these 3 things that you can think of. It's not being afraid. It is honoring. It's having reverence towards God. And then it's obeying him. It's knowing what is right, knowing what God has said, and doing those things. So there you have wisdom in a nutshell. If you follow God, what he said, his word, and you do it, you act on it, that's the beginning of wisdom. That's your starting point. So understanding that, you can understand a little bit better what it's talking about there with the benefits of wisdom. So wisdom is something that you carry with you. It's something you take with you. So it says here in verse 25, have no fear of sudden disaster or the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be at your side and keep your foot from being snared. So when you take wisdom with you, when you take that obedience to God and His Word, you have it with you, and it's protecting to you. So there's a tangible benefit to wisdom. I'm sorry, I'm just going to eat a little chocolate here. Don't mind me. I eat when I'm nervous, so I'll try not to be, Carl. Thank you. So, section 1 here, really we'll talk about obedience to God. It's practical. It gives us benefits. This is for us. This is for ourselves. This is for you. My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck. So, following in obedience to God has a definite, tangible benefit for us in our lives. The Lord will be at your side. I like this passage here. My wife's been out of town for 4 days, so I have the 3 kids with me, trying to get ready, everything, trying to get them off to school on time, everything. This verse 24 here really spoke to me. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. You know why? Because you have confidence in God. And this sweetness of sleep was definitely appreciated this week with the kids there. So that kind of goes through the first section here. Now we're going to transition over to section number 2, which is verses 27 through 35. I'm just going to go ahead and read through those, and we're going to try to pinpoint a few things, a few specifics that are involved in there. So it starts with, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you, when you already have it with you. Do not plot harm against your neighbor who lives trustfully near you. Do not accuse anyone for no reason when they have done you no harm. Do not envy the violent or choose their ways, for the Lord detests the perverse and takes the upright into his confidence. The Lord's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and oppressed. The wise inherit honor, but fools get only shame. So, starting with that, I got all these chocolates here. They're so good, you know. Do y'all like Dove chocolate? I got dark chocolate here, and I've got milk chocolate here. I got one person waving back there. More people? Good. I like this stuff. Does anybody want some of my chocolate? Here, anybody? Okay. We got a few people there. Come see me next week. I got it here, but you know what? I'm just going to wait. Is that good with everybody? I'll be here next week. I'll hand it out to you. No? Would you want it now? Okay. We'll send that around now. So that was my attempt at an object lesson. You can pass that around. That was PJ's idea. I think it was very good. He did a good job with that. But anyway, that goes back to verses 27 and 28. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you, when you already have it with you. So it was in my power to act, to give y'all chocolate if you want chocolate. And so feel free, take the chocolate. I could have waited till tomorrow, but you know, we'll try to get that thought plugged into your head about what that's all about, saying there in verses 27 and 28. So I'm going to reread this section 27 through 31, and I want y'all to pay attention to what each of these statements start out with. Do not withhold good from those from whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you, when you already have it with you. Do not plot harm against your neighbor who lives trustfully near you. Do not accuse anyone for no reason when they have done you no harm. So each one of those start off with, do not. This is going to be a good sermon here. Very positive language here. So meeting with Jonathan, we talked about that. You know, when something's repeated in Scripture, Usually there's a reason behind it. There's grammatical reasons, language reasons for repeating something like that. So do not's repeated there 5 times, and in fact, in some other translations, the do not command is repeated in verses 25 as well. So you hear this do not a lot, do not. Well, so why was it put in the Bible that way as a do not and not a do this? So I got to thinking about that and praying about it a little bit, and I think whenever there's a do not in the Bible, usually it's something that we are already doing or something that we all have the proclivity to do and the tendency to do. So this section here in particular is a list of do nots regarding our neighbors. Do not withhold good for those whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you when you have it with you. So whenever you have the power to do something good for somebody, it's calling you to act on it. It's calling you to do good when it is in your power to act. So in that section, the verse here, 28, do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you when you already have it with you. Now, you read that and you kind of start to think of that proverbial cup of sugar. The neighbor's coming over, knocking on the door. Hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Can I borrow your weed eater? Can I borrow your lawnmower? Can I borrow... Somebody's asking you for something. You say, I got the sugar there, but I'm here with my kids. I don't have time for this. Come back tomorrow. So, does it sound like in this section that neighbor, is that his best friend knocking on the door? Is that his mother? Is it his dad? Is it one of his kids, one of his nephews? Is this somebody this guy likes a whole lot? Come back tomorrow, I'll give it to you. All I got to do is open up the garage and wheel out the lawnmower. Come back tomorrow, I'm busy, I'm watching the game. From this perspective, thank you. From this perspective, it doesn't sound like this neighbor who's knocking on the door asking for something is somebody this guy likes a whole lot. He's not his best friend. You know why? Because if he was, what's the big deal? He would just give it to him, probably. But, maybe he's not. Maybe this guy is really annoying. Maybe he's a coworker of him. Maybe he always speaks out of turn and takes credit for things in the office that he didn't do. Maybe he borrowed the lawnmower last week and he didn't return it, or he returned it empty of gas. Or maybe he belonged to the other political party. The other one, the one that y'all don't like. So I'm not going to tell you which one that is, but y'all can imagine, in this climate, the other party is whoever else doesn't believe like you believe. And that's tough, you have no problem doing things for people you like, usually. But it's the people that are marginal, the people you dislike, the people who take credit when there's no credit due them. That's when it's hard to do things for people. So, page 1 is done. Page 2. So, think about this. I've got a few young people. Do we have any young people here right now? Anybody in school? Randy and Chris? Good. Okay, so perfect example of this. You're at school, and we'll say you're at work. Somebody eating by themselves. Maybe it's that guy who belongs to that other political party you don't like. And you see him eating by himself, and maybe you've seen him eating by himself every day. Maybe you've seen that before, and you think, I could go sit down by them. And you think, the thought comes into your head, let me share a little time with them. Let's just see how their day's going, see how they're doing, see what's going on with them. And you have that chance there to bless somebody, but what's the next thing you do? You go over there and sit down with them and you slap them on the back and say, hey, how's it going? No. Oftentimes you hesitate. You think, wait a second, I was already planning on going to lunch with my friends here. I don't need to do that right now. There'll be another time. The guy eats alone by himself all the time. I'll just go, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll make plans to do that. So we hesitate. We wait. And at that same time, we're withholding good from that person. You don't know what's going on in their life. that they're eating by themselves. You don't know what sort of trials they're having going on. And a lot of times people put up walls. You would never know that. But if you sit down with them, spend a little time with them, show them a little bit of grace, show them some love, you could really bless your neighbor in that way. So maybe God put that person right there in your line of sight, right there in front of you for that specific reason and that specific time. There are times, and Jonathan's used that word kairos before. We use it a lot in our group. Kairos is a moment in time. It's not particular like it's 10:30 today. No, it's a point in time that's a specific event that's called to mind. And maybe that's a specific event that God has chosen for you to go share some love to somebody. So, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you, when you already have it with you. We have time. Share that time with them. Another example, it doesn't have to be a person necessarily right in front of you. If, we've all done this. You're driving in traffic. We're in Houston. You're stopped. Your mind has a chance to wander, and a person comes into your mind, and you think, I should give them a call. And the next thing you do is, okay, I'm driving around. I'll call them when I get home. This traffic's kind of heavy. I don't want to bother with that now. I'll do it when I get home. You get home, get the kids back from school. You start making dinner. I'm kind of busy right now. I'll call them after dinner. It'll calm down. I'll have the time. I think they're in my mind for a reason. Let me give them a call. You get done with dinner, you start washing the dishes, you getting the kids ready for bed. That's a big routine in our house. Some of y'all with older kids, you start to appreciate that they can get themselves ready for bed, but maybe it's the same. I'll get there one day. But getting the kids to bed is a big deal. It's hard. It takes a lot of time, and getting them dressed and doing prayers and reading books and everything else. I'll do it when the kids are in bed. Then I'll give that person a call. I finally have some peace and quiet. I'll do it. You get that done, and then you're, sit on the couch, turn on the Netflix, you binge watch a few episodes of whatever it happens to be, and then before you know it, you're in bed laying down, and you're thinking, I never called that person. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it another time. And, again, maybe God brought that person to your mind for a specific reason. Things happen for specific reasons a lot of times. And I've heard stories, I can't share any with you right now, but these stories that God prompts you to pray for somebody or give them a call, and you do, and you had no idea the trial they're going through at that particular time. God brings them to your mind for a reason. There's a reason that he does that. Do not say to your neighbor, come back and I'll give it to you, when you have it already with you. So, I have a personal story here. 11 weeks ago, my mother-in-law got a phone call from, sorry, I haven't done this before, I haven't practiced this, but she got a phone call from a friend she hadn't seen in 30 years. Friend lived out of state when she lived back in New Jersey. This friend calls her up out of the blue, they haven't spoken, and he says, you know what, I'm going to be in Dallas, let's get together, it's been a long time. Calls her, and they make plans. Have the conversation on Sunday, they make plans to get together on Tuesday. So he comes over to the house, and he brings a friend along with him. This is another friend my mother-in-law hasn't seen in 30 plus years. And he said, listen, I called Lori and I asked her to come over here too. I know you guys haven't seen each other in a long time, but when I said I was going to be in town, she said she wanted to see you too. So they both came over. They spent the whole day together. They had dinner together. They talked for hours. They caught up. It was really a blessing that they went out together. They reminisced. And they left that night. They said goodbye. And the thought that I can imagine going through their heads is, why didn't we do that sooner? That was so much fun. It was great getting caught up. Why did we wait so long to do that? Mother-in-law went to bed that night, and she didn't wake back up. That friend, those two friends that she hadn't seen in 30 years, got to spend the last day with her. That morning, she passed away. No warning, no symptoms, no advance notice, no chance to share love, and not a chance for another goodbye. So when you say, come back tomorrow, I'll do it another day. You don't have tomorrow. What do you have right now? Do you have yesterday? Tell me what you can do about yesterday. You can't do anything about that. What can you do about tomorrow? You can plan. You can plan for tomorrow, but do you have tomorrow in your control? What do we have? We have right now. What's going on right now? You know, the cliche, we need to live in the moment. Well, Jonathan said this to me, and I thought it rings true. We need to love in the moment. When God is prompting you to do something, when he's prompting you to show love, you got to do it right then, because you don't have the chance to plan your future. And everything I've planned in my future, everything I've thought out in advance, and this is how it's going to happen, I'm always wrong. It never happens that way. So why plan for the future? Not to say you shouldn't save for retirement, yada, yada, but don't act like you're going to always have that chance with somebody. You need to take that time now. It might not be your beloved mother-in-law. It might not be a family member. It might be somebody you find very annoying. But your chance to show love there could be something that impacts their life and changes them and blesses them if you show them love, if you show them some grace. Another page down. So when Jonathan and I were meeting about this, I said, yeah, this is good. I think I can work with this section here, but what's the connection to Jesus here? You know, if it's just a message, if it's just good advice, then I might as well be Tony Robbins up here and getting you guys pumped up, and we start clapping and cheering, and you know, we're going to feel really good about ourselves. But if there's not a connection to Jesus, then we're not meeting for any purpose here. So I was like, man, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see the Jesus connection here. And Jonathan was like, got one for you. So let's go to Romans chapter 5. So you see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. So, there's the connection. Let me move back here in Proverbs 27. Do not withhold good from those whom it is due when it is in your power to act. So, you see, at just the right time, while we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. He demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Christ came at just the right time. He could have waited. He could have said, you know, they're that annoying neighbor down there on earth. Let's let them clean up their act. They need to change their ways. Let's wait, then I'll come back. They'll be ready for me then, right? No. At the right time, he came to us while we were still sinners. He came. And he didn't withhold his love from us. And the thing about it is, in Proverbs, it says, do not withhold good for those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. It was in God's power to act to send Christ here to die for us, to redeem us. But we were not due. We were not due any of that. That's the thing. Jesus coming to earth, a lot of times in Jesus' ministry, he took things that were in the Old Testament and he elevated it up to the godly level that it was intended for. So Jesus did not withhold good from those whom it was not due. And that's namely us. He didn't withhold his grace from us, his forgiveness, and his love. And you know what? He did it at just the right time. That's that kairos word again. Just the right time, the point in time. This is him coming, the perfect time to save us. He didn't want us cleaned up first. He didn't want us to be less annoying. He didn't want us to be more godly before he came. He came right then. And he came and he died for us. And he was rose again. And now we live for him. So what do we have to do? We have the time now. We accept his love for us. We accept what he did for us. We accept that gift of grace. And you know what? The model is right here. It's Jesus Christ. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. When we were powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. He died for us when we didn't deserve it. And if we want to know the heart of Jesus, it's to take that message to others who don't necessarily deserve it. Maybe that guy who's annoying, who belongs to the other political party, who sits and eats by himself, he doesn't deserve it. But you can share some love with him, and that's the heart of God there. And that's the heart of Jesus Christ. So don't wait. Don't wait to do things. You don't have tomorrow. All you have is right now. That's the only thing in your power. And so take advantage of right now. Show some love to somebody. And take advantage of what God's given you. Take advantage of the love he has shown you. Accept it. Follow him. Trust him. And share that with others.